right-hand side, it's all pavement, which has been paved over. Just talking about the end.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 3:30, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance as we do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we start, I do want to say two personnel things. First of all, I wanted to thank Brian McDonald, who was a police officer in our town, and he has left our employment to go to firefighter school and become a firefighter. So I want to personally and to everyone say thank you for all of his service to the town. And also Julie Atwell, who was our town administrator, has left to move on to a new job in Blue Hill, Maine, as town administrator there. And we wish her a lot of luck. She did amazing work for us for over 10 years, I believe. And she is, we're going to get her address and I'll go visit her. And the best news too is that we really have Julie Hoyt to step right into her shoes, and she's been here for also 10 plus years, and we're so confident and happy that she can step in that role, and it's so far been very seamless, and it's a wonderful thing. So that's wonderful news there. And then, yes, congratulations. And then we have Betsy Eaton starting full-time on October 23rd, so she'll be coming into the role as the town administrative assistant. She'll be coming in a few days periodically in the meantime to get sort of ramped up and trained with Julie, but we're really looking forward to bringing her on board as well, starting full-time on the 23rd. So if anybody wants to pop in and say hi and ask her questions immediately so she learns fast. But, you know, we're always challenged with turnover and not always turnover, but possibilities of turnover. So I think we all feel very fortunate to have the staff that we do. We've lost folks in the highway department, the police department, and the town office here, and it's always nice to have good people starting and new challenges, but we're very thankful for all of our employees. Thank you for that. Okay, on to number 3, the approval of minutes. We have the September 12th meeting. Did you both get to review the minutes?
Yeah.
Questions or comments?
No.
I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second. What, you take second?
I will.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There is that to sign. And then we had a non-public after that, and we had made the decision to seal those minutes, so I will make a motion to seal the minutes for the September 12th signature. September 12th, non-public, according to RSA 91-A:3 2A.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 There's that one for you. And then we had a non-public on September 18th, which was also RSA 91-A:3 2A, and we made a motion during the meeting to seal those minutes as well. So actually, I'll make a motion now to seal the minutes. I think we have to do that in public. Seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sign the letter. Thank you. All right, first up, Gary Allen, Highway Department culverts. And I guess you guys both have copies of the reports that Gary submitted. So, how much is this going to cost? No. Why did you give us a report there?
Well, we went around and we checked every culvert that we have in town, and we did not have a list of culverts. We have a total of 232 culverts in the town of Jackson on all our roads. 111 are galvanized, which at some point those are all going to have to be replaced. And we have 121 of the plastic polyethylene. Those basically are lifetime culverts, unless something drastic happens to collapse them. But There's 40 of the galvanized culverts that are corroded to the point where they really need to be replaced. The bottoms are all rotted out, and once that happens, as the water flows through it, it undermines that culvert, and as you have this gully underneath that culvert, then the sidewalls start caving in, and that's what happened over on Switchback, in that big 4-foot culvert. The sides washed and then the road collapsed. We have 7 of the big 36-inch to 48-inch culverts that need to take priority. Those are the most dangerous. The smaller culverts, 2-foot-and-a-half culverts, I mean, they need to be fixed, but they're not, they won't be such a severe event as having these big ones collapse, because the guy or something could really get hurt. When we did Switchback, that gave me a real good feel of what it cost us to replace those and to do it right. And that was $15,000 to replace that culvert. That covered everything. We have to subcontract out, contracted Jag because we need a bigger excavator because of the size. We just don't have equipment big enough to handle that. Like I said, we did the concrete header to state spec, which, they brought up the spec considering the weather conditions and the floods that are possible. I mean, they're huge headers now, concrete headers. That one there was 16 feet wide and 3 feet at the bottom and a foot thick at the top, full of rebar. And that'll be there forever. So that gave me a good idea. So the 7 to replace, so we're looking at $105,000, which we start doing those big culverts next year. We don't have the manpower to do all of them, but we could do 3 of them, and then next year do the rest of them. And then the smaller ones, as we normally do, before we repave a road, we go and check all the culverts and replace what needs to be replaced. The smaller ones we would do as we can. I mean, that's something that we could phase out, over the years, placing those, as long as they didn't collapse. With the bigger culverts, I mean, if we had like half of that 105,000 next year, and then the next year do the other half, and spread that out a little bit, so it's not a huge item, if we could do that.
Or I suppose we can have an expendable trust fund, raise all of the money, and it'll be there for us to use the following year if we wanted to. Just throwing that out, but
Yeah.
I'm just, just adding to the conversation.
Options versus just throwing in the budget.
Right.
So, like you said, excavator, materials, concrete, manpower, et cetera. How does does this interfere with your ability to pave roads? Because I know you have a paving schedule too, each year.
No, I mean, like I said, we look at road, what we're gonna pave, we know what we need for culverts. We go ahead and we replace those before they pave it. So this would be totally separate from that. I said, it would be busy, but we can do it. We could do three of the big ones in a season, besides smaller ones before we do it.
And when do you have to do these? What time of year?
Well, springtime's not good, but this year it didn't really matter because we had a lot of flow.
Rained every time.
I mean, I talked with Jeff Roden, who lives right next to Switchback, said that was usually dry in summer, but they ran all summer long. I mean, that took us, we had to dig a sump, put stone in it, pump it, had to pump it constantly while we were there. We had 2 pumps running, keep the water out so we could work.
But it's basically a spring to summer.
Yeah, spring, summer, I mean, not winter time work, but yeah, we have 6 months to do that stuff.
Okay. Questions?
It's just a great report.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is something that you have a spreadsheet or something so that in the future, everybody knows
Yeah,
where we're at,
definitely,
when it was changed, and
Right.
everything linked.
Locations, where they are, what they are.
Because we haven't had anything like that up to now.
No, I didn't have a list like that.
Right.
I apologize.
Good. It's a good thing to establish.
Sorry. One more thing. Are you going to is your intent to put this in the budget half and half, or like Frank said, where you think?
Well, I
it's
guess that's
expendable?
however you think will be more acceptable to the taxpayer. I mean, you think they would put it all at one time, that's fine. I just thought, I looked at this and said, we can do like 55,000 this year and next year another 55,000.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
manpower is only, your manpower is limiting you as well.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, we can only do so much a year.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think as budget season comes, we'll have to increase our culvert budget anyways on top of this.
Right. And then you said it's cheaper for you guys to do it yourself. Is there any reason you would need to outsource anything, and how much would the cost differential be? Like, say we said, we need to fix these 7 in the next year.
Well, I would guess we'd save at least 20,000 per culvert,
Per culvert? Okay,
Not higher
substantial,
now.
yeah,
so it's a substantial amount.
yes,
As long as they don't collapse, like the switchback of that, then we'll get it done.
Mhm.
right,
But, if emergency happens, If,
yeah,
maybe we can do it, maybe we can't.
yeah,
The other concern that I'm really concerned about is, the end of Black Mountain Road past Dean Davis's.
right,
I mean, that's really starting to move. So, I have Burr looking at that, and he said, yeah, that's bad. So he's dealing with the state, started getting permits where it's a brook. If it doesn't collapse, if it becomes an emergency, then we don't need state permits, but he's going that route.
mhm,
And then he's gonna get, 3 quotes, what it would be, but that would be pretty expensive.
How long does it take you to, this crappy question, but how long would, just generally, like, how long did it take you to fix the one?
Switchback was about 2 weeks.
2 weeks? And then, do you have any money left in your budget where you could do any one this year, for the rest of the year?
We're like 300% over our culvert budget already. I
Okay.
mean, we're taking money from everywhere
Yeah.
to pay for our culverts.
Okay, good to know. Just grasping at straws there.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks like a straw right now.
Yeah.
Good. Question?
Yeah, sure, the question I had was, is there a way to get a breakdown on that $15,000 for the culvert?
Sure.
Repair, time, material?
Yeah.
Type of material it is,
Sure.
excavation time,
Yeah.
size of the excavation machine? And then is it possible to get what you replaced already, took you 2 weeks, is it possible to get that breakdown as well?
Sure.
Awesome, I'd love to get a copy of it.
Do it. Okay, well.
Either that or put up a toll gate.
There you
Yeah, that's a
go.
pretty nice job you did on the switchback.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right, I think when we go through the first round of budgets and when you start submitting your budget, we'll definitely look at that and we'll see what capital reserve funds we may have available, or if we want to go that route versus budget route, and
Mhm.
also seeing what other costs you're going to present for gravel, sand, things
Right.
like that, because we're trying to obviously keep the roads up. And we
Yeah.
talked about the gravel purchase last year, remember, just making sure you're not
Yeah.
cutting yourself short on that.
Oh, this year we're way over on that too.
Yeah.
Well,
Rough year.
kind of horrendous.
Bring back the horse and carriage and the dirt roads, right?
Yeah, really.
But like Frank said, great job on the report. It's really interesting, and it's nice to have new information that we can now keep track of, so.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Next is the Whitney Center audio visual equipment. So let me give you guys a copy of this as well. And I think it's front and back. So the Whitney Oversight Committee, which I also sit on, has done a lot of work enhancing their programs that they've offered this year, and they have a program book that they're doing quarterly. And what they have definitely found is that the audiovisual equipment is it's not even substandard. It just doesn't work well. And I think we see that at town meeting and board meetings and things that are in there where it's really hard to hear people, it's hard to get recordings, and the fact that the school uses the Whitney Center the most for the kids, et cetera, but it's also used by the Whitney Oversight Committee as well as the town. They came up with an audiovisual improvement plan to replace all of the equipment. There was a much more detailed plan to it that broke down the $30,000 to $35,000 estimate. But what the committee is presenting is that the school would cover some of it. Town of Jackson, which is us, is $2,500 that we pledged, which we have in our budget already. The Friends of the Whitney, which is the oversight committee, would provide $2,500 from their funds, and then the school board would match by releasing some of their funding from the Whitney Capital Fund. And this would start the process for purchasing at least microphones and headsets. So like when the moderators are standing at the front, they're gonna have the headset that has the microphone built in. It's much more sensitive and better sound. And then the projector and all the sound equipment would also be improved. So this is the start of what they're presenting, and the school was definitely in favor of funding this as well. Hank, you were involved in that a little bit, just to be consulted on that. Did you have any comments or thoughts, or are you
No.
happy with?
I'm happy.
Perfect. Because Hank records all the meetings, and sometimes it's really hard for him to get good sound quality on his videos as well. This would help out. And one of the biggest things, I think, is for anyone that's hearing impaired in those meetings, it would really help the sound quality for that. They talked about improving the acoustics, which is like the pads on the ceiling, etc. But and they had an expert come in and take a look at it and give them some input, but they felt that they wouldn't need those extra sound pads as much as the good equipment for the acoustics. So, as I said, I don't think we have to make a motion for it because we have the money in the budget for this and in the town administrative budget. So it's just kind of an update on what they're planning to do. So I'm kind of looking forward to town meeting. Like I said, we don't have to carry the microphone around. And
Closer.
We were so
exactly,
closer.
closer. Microphone,
Right.
please. So any questions or comments on that?
No, it's right in line with our previous discussions.
Yes.
Seems like things are on track. That's great.
Yes. All right. Last meeting, our forensic team went over the video and saw that I had actually made a motion for the withdrawal from the trust funds for the Balloon Water Trust, but I didn't make a motion for the funding. So I need to make a motion from last week to approve the funding. So I will make a motion to approve the funding of $80,000. Oh, I'm sorry, this isn't Balloon. This is for the, I'm just going to read it and make a motion. September 12th, 2023, the Jackson Selectmen authorized the transfer of $80,000 to be deposited into the capital reserve funds and the expendable trust funds for the warrant articles listed below. Highway truck, capital reserve fund 0048, article 4 for $50,000, and heavy highway equipment, capital reserve fund 0068, article 4 for $30,000 for a total of $80,000.
So moved.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Was that, did I just make a motion or did
I made the
second it?
motion and you seconded it.
Oh, okay, I'll second it.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, this is the nice thing about having Hank's video, figure out if I missed something. Alrighty. Alright, the next is a driveway permit for the owner Denaro, and Kevin, did you want to comment on this?
Yeah, did you see the plan here?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's a good start. I mean, I think what they have there, we definitely approve. There's a retaining wall that's, it's close to the road, put it that way. It's close to the 25-foot setback. And I think just a little modification to make sure that if there is a retaining wall sticking up, that it's out of the setback. And if not, we'll just slope that part of the grade to, you know, just have grass or dirt or whatever. And I think the surveyor who drew that just didn't realize that, you can't have retaining walls in the setback. But I think that's a major improvement. And you can see in the one corner there, the existing driveway, how it like slopes up like a mountain and kind of comes down, and you can see the new drawing where the new driveway would be. It's, you know, it's a 15% slope, which is much better.
So they had originally submitted, now they're resubmitting based on the denial?
Well, they never had anything on paper.
Oh,
They were just, they were thinking about putting the driveway cut in pretty close to the setback. And that's another thing, if you look at the setback, not the setback, the property line, it's probably only like a foot or 2 feet within that 15-foot setback from the property line, which they thought it was gonna be much farther over. So in our zoning, you have to have a driveway within, farther away than
Farther away
15 feet.
okay, so this takes care of that issue as well.
It's like a
15
foot over,
feet, 15
which
foot
I don't
setback.
think anyone's gonna say anything about it. The road, I mean, I already talked to Gary about it, and,
It's a huge
we thought it was gonna be
improvement.
like 10 feet, but.
Okay. So it meets all the requirements?
Yeah, I think that's a major improvement.
Okay. And then we don't have to make a motion on this then if you're approving the driveway permit, this is in,
Well, he would approve the driveway cut, and then the rest of it, I guess, between him and me and
Yeah, I would approve
fire
it
chief
now,
too.
but we had nothing on paper, and they said,
Yeah.
we're within 5 feet of their boundary. And I said,
Gotcha.
well, I would have to deny it because it's 15. Now they've come back with plans and it's okay.
okay,
So I wouldn't deny it now.
okay. So the permit is in here and it's not signed by anyone other than the owner, so you're gonna sign it and then the selectman will sign it after that?
Yep.
Correct.
Hold on one second.
She was trying to be.
The abutter was in yesterday, and his concern was the pump, the well
Okay.
pump.
All right.
Because he
That's-
says-
That's an issue if the abutter has a problem.
Yeah, he does have a problem. He's concerned about that because the well pump, the pipe goes across De Niro's property and it goes to another abutter's property. It's his water access?
Is he concerned?
Yeah, they're gonna deal with all that when they start digging. There's
Okay.
there's a lot of things they have to worry about.
Okay.
They have to cap the existing well, cut that down almost 3 or 4 feet, and put a cover over it, and, yeah, they're
But that's
well aware
noted
of
on
this.
this drawing as well, correct?
What's that?
That's noted on this drawing
Yes,
as
it
well?
is, yeah, all the issues are,
Yeah, yeah, and they have to cut that, yeah, so they have to cut that and,
So in the
Yeah.
comment section, I would have to say I am making an exception because the driveway will be probably within 13 feet, not the 15 feet. I don't know if that would, if the people with the pump house, if that's gonna be an issue because we allowed that.
Yeah, I went over that with him yesterday, he was in my office, and I explained that to him. I didn't know the distance, I was thinking it was gonna be within like 5 feet of his
Well,
property
that's what
line.
we originally thought.
Yeah, and it's only like,
So I don't know, I mean, are we allowed to make that kind of variation?
no,
Okay.
I mean-
I can't sign it.
no. So not unless
The
the,
zoning board.
Well, they
no,
didn't
the
want to rent
zoning
it,
board
though.
isn't, because we actually went through these questions, it's all based on the road ordinances.
So I
So
mean,
it's
they have
really
to
us.
adjust, they'd have to adjust that 2 feet
Correct.
and present another plan?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
We can't even wiggle, because if we do, then we're really
Right,
going against
I
the
agree
road
with that.
ordinance, so,
Hmm.
yeah. Was there anything
I
else
thought,
then
you
that
know,
the
the
butters?
abutter had said, yeah, they didn't mind.
Okay,
I mean, I guess if the abutter was okay with it,
yeah, but
If
if
the
we
abutter
get,
was okay with it.
yeah.
but if the abutter wants to
But
present
it's gonna be
something
in
that
writing that they.
correct, if
they
the
say it's
abutter is
okay.
okay with it,
Yeah.
and they
Right.
wanna submit something that
Right.
they're okay with it, then that's fine, and we can come back with that,
Yeah.
but as long as they do have an issue possibly, then we have to make sure that that's
Right.
addressed first.
So the De Niro needs to contact the land abutter.
Yeah.
Ask them if it's okay, then we need something in writing.
That's correct,
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
She has been in contact.
I guess
with them,
this is a
so.
question for Kevin. Is it possible to make it right so that it is 15?
yeah, I can ask Dan,
Can it be done?
the surveyor there, I mean, I forget what he
Exact
asked for
close.
width on that. You know what I'm saying, width of the driveway, but you
Right.
just narrowed it or slid it over a little bit.
yeah, I mean, that's why we
So
have
they
the
can-
rules,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right,
So-
but they can't, there's
Yeah.
potential to get this done by the letter of law.
The property line's almost kind of vague too. I mean, he spent hours up there referencing off the deed, all the deeds in the area,
Mhm.
what was there, you know, just finding stuff and not finding stuff, and He was explaining to me, it's complicated, you know.
Mhm.
You know, I commend them for trying to improve their driveway, because usually their cars stuck out in the road,
Yeah.
because they just can't help it. It's so steep, they drive up, and it's like right back down.
Does that retaining wall exist right now?
There is one there.
The upper
The upper
part,
side.
The inside curve of the,
No,
the
the
upper-
outside curve is there.
yeah, this is existing, but it doesn't go all the way down to the road.
No, it's just,
And that's leaning over by about, that's out of plumb by 6 inches.
oh,
That's,
Okay.
so, you know, the freezing cycles. it's
so there's
just
a
pushing
portion of that outside retaining wall that
Yeah.
currently exists.
Yeah,
But-
the closest part to the house, yes, that exists there.
Okay.
That's all gonna get ripped out.
Oh, it's all gonna get ripped out?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Is there any reason why they wouldn't be able to come into compliance with this and the 15-foot setback?
well, I don't know, I mean, the survey's gonna look at it, I mean, if you're only off like 2 feet, seems like they could make a 2-foot adjustment,
Yeah,
I think, but I don't know what the obstruction is, where he's got it, where it is.
Yeah.
Is the existing driveway doesn't meet spec?
No,
So if the existing driveway doesn't meet spec and they're moving it to make it better, and they are gonna make it better, I would think you could give them a variance for 2 feet if you had to.
All right.
Because you're not talking new construction, you're taking
Yeah,
an
but
existing
okay.
situation that's bad.
but the abutter would have to agree to it.
yeah, what,
Oh, correct.
okay,
Yeah,
so,
as long as she agrees
yeah,
to it.
so what, the owner needs to talk to their architect, their designer, or whatever it is here. They need to figure out how close they can get it to be according to our standards. If they can't, then they need to meet with the abutter, whether it's at the next select meeting or through certified letters that they've agreed or whatever.
Yep.
But if it isn't, if the pump house is a problem, if the 15 feet is a problem, anything that doesn't meet our standards, that's, we need to know about it. And then if they do want to ask for a variance and the abutter agrees, then we can do that.
Right, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, back to the drawing board, as they say.
The idea of making it better ultimately
Yes,
is, I hope that's our goal,
Yeah.
if we can get there.
absolutely.
With the abutters, they have something to say about that.
Yeah, so it's gotta be kind of a win-win, I guess, you know? Yeah. All right. We have a building permit renewal and occupancy permits, and Paul Pagliaroli are here to speak about that.
Yes. Sorry about that, that was off. We want to go over my 4 agenda items in that order, or?
Yes, that'd be fine. I don't know if there's, it says you want to discuss with the selectmen, so your number 1 has the discussion about the fire station, so.
Yep, the above comments I made, is there any feedback or questions on the validity of what I stated?
No.
You confirm that with Jay and the people I spoke
I
with?
didn't confirm anything, I didn't need to confirm anything because it was a public comment, so I'm not sure what you wanted me to do.
Comment on the validity of it. Would you accept that as a factual
I believe all the
statistic?
statistics for the fire station are in the annual report here.
No, not that statistic.
Okay,
That was new information based on the $4.5 to $5.5 million retrofit of the fire station or a new build.
okay.
And,
So
I mean,
you
Jay's
made-
right here, we can confirm, or maybe I misinterpreted, but I believe it was between 80%, right, Jay? 75 to
I guess I don't remember the question, so if you can,
Do you want to have a copy of this?
just got it.
Okay.
No, it was just to the point where the comment was, in my opinion, and it was validated by fact, that the town of Jackson's taxpayers will be paying 100% of the bill for the fire station, which I don't
Correct.
deny you need, you certainly need it, it's in tough shape. And it certainly needs to be, have more creature comforts, for sure. That's not my point. The point was that the taxpayers are gonna be paying 100% of the cost
Right.
for roughly 20% of the benefit over the last 50 or 60 years, 10 years, any 10-year period that you look at. The calls that go out are mostly for neighboring towns, not so much for the taxpayers of Jackson. So the statement was, and we talked about it, and there's really no simple answer, I just want it to be known to you guys, because you guys hold the purse strings, is that we're paying 100% of the bill for 20% of the benefit, so maybe
Right.
something to
I guess
consider.
I don't quite understand the 20% benefit. Where that
Because
came
roughly
from.
1 in 5 calls, 1 in 5
No, I
calls go
thought
out to,
that it was
roughly,
15 to 20% of our call volume is usually mutual aid. So I don't know where that, I don't
So
know if
for
we're
every-
getting the one.
so for every 1 call.
So for example, like one of the, I don't know, like I said, I didn't have the paperwork right in front of me.
Right, a ballpark, I was just
But I
curious.
know there's been some years out of 150 calls, we go to Bartlett or North Conway like 16 to 18 times. So whatever that percent is. I would guess right now without looking at anything that 15 to 20% is the times we leave town. So I don't know where you got the one out of 5 from.
So 80% is in town.
Correct.
So it was the opposite.
I think so.
The opposite.
You think so, most of the calls are in town?
Yeah, and I know roughly, like I said, 16 calls out of 100, and depends what year. I mean, some years we run 150 calls, some years we run 120. Some years out of that, we go to Bartlett 60, North Conway 16 times, 10 times. It changes every year. So I don't have those exact numbers.
Right, well, just food
Okay,
for
so-
thought.
But
all
rough
right, so-
numbers, 15 to 20%.
No, I think what
Yeah, food for
our point is being made that, yes, whatever decision is made by the voters to either put money into a new station of renovation or anything for the fire department, 100% of the fire department expenditures are covered by Jackson taxpayers. That is a fact. Okay. Number 2.
Well, it's typically you want to get 100% benefit, not 70% or 60%.
Yeah, but we're always gonna have mutual aid, so that's a good thing too.
That's,
All right.
that's not an
Mhm.
argument. I just make the point only because I am a taxpayer in Bartlett, I am a taxpayer in Jackson, and through an ongoing multi-year investigation, I'm just giving you my 2 cents about what I've uncovered, and soon to be public, about the town of Bartlett and the arbitrage, if you will, for town taxpayers of Jackson. So usually it's to the detriment of another neighboring town or taxpayer. And I'm just making the point to the Jackson board, it's something to be considered, that you may want to get full value for the taxpayers of Jackson when they do pay that dollar amount, that they want to get as close to 100% as possible. Because if you do the review and you do the analysis, you'll find that Bartlett, and in Jay's words too, Gene Chandler, tends to always arbitrage and piggyback on the back of other neighboring mutual aid, quote, mutual aid towns. You can call it mutual aid, but I think Jay would agree because we had a conversation, it's not so much mutual aid, it's almost as if it's an arbitrage play or a predatory type situation where
Okay.
they're taking money out of a different town. And that's just, that can be discussed either way, right?
Okay.
So
Thanks
just
for your
food for
point.
thought.
Got
Yeah,
it.
food for thought.
Okay,
And again, you guys make that decision, but at least if someone's coming up and letting you
got it.
kind of take the ball and run with it or not, you know, you do what you want. You're an elected board and you can do what you like.
Still has to be voted on. All right, number 2?
Well, you,
Can we
I
move
get
on
that,
to
but,
number 2?
and the point where you're backing something, so when the selectmen have an opinion, right?
Right.
Which you do have an opinion, so when you say we favor it or we don't favor it, that's my comment, is so that you can get maybe a little more educated, and maybe you can maybe you don't approve it or don't accept it, or you don't essentially back it, or you do. So that's the reason why, not because it's a strict vote. You have some say, and you're obviously a lot of town taxpayers will be looking to you guys because they don't know which ends up. So
Thank you.
sure.
Number 2?
Number 2. So number 2 was yes, the letter that I received
From?
from the building inspector
Hmm.
saying that I wasn't in compliance with my building permit, which isn't true. I am in full compliance with my building permit. And I was just, the reason I put that in there for the agenda, I was seeing, and Kevin had mentioned that he would talk to whoever issued it. He doesn't see a problem with rescinding that letter and reissuing the building permit.
So, can you give me a little feedback on your building? So when did it start, and you had a building permit, and then what?
Sure, more importantly, let's discuss 1824, which is the town code that I have to go under. The town code says specifically, the work has to be commenced within 12 months, which I did.
Mhm.
And the work can't be suspended or abandoned for a period of 6 months.
Mhm.
It was not suspended or abandoned for 6 months, so I would be within the letter of the law. We've been consistently working, bringing fill material up there, other material. I've been working with the Jackson chief on restraining orders and an arrest warrant for my neighbor who's been down my build site many
Right.
times. And so we're not comfortable continuing with things other than fill material until we can get my neighbor. And thankfully, the town road agent came up and met me up there. I can finally put a gate where I want to put a gate to keep him off my property. Once I do that, I can continue the build process in a faster way. But I am in full compliance, so within every 6-month period, we're still doing work on the project.
Okay. Can I ask you a question again? When did you start your building and when was your permit issued?
I don't have that information in front of me. Kevin will know better.
Okay.
In fact, Kevin put the last permit he affixed it on the tree for me, so I don't even know when it was, because I was in Florida, and he had called me and said, yeah, you're all set, I renewed your permit. I stuck it to the tree. Thank you, Kevin, appreciate that. Only in Jackson, very small town. And that was it. So I don't even know, Kevin, you would know better than me.
When was the
When that
last,
renewal was?
last one issued?
Yeah.
It was 2022, and I think it ran out in March. I didn't bring everything over.
Okay.
Right.
So what happened?
That was the third renewal.
That was the third renewal?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got a letter saying that you were not in compliance because of what reason? Was it
I
6
don't know.
months or 1 year?
He
Kevin,
wrote the
you
letter.
remember that?
No, I think the letter was sent, just that we were saying that we issued the building permit for the third time, and we weren't gonna renew it if any work didn't continue or whatever.
Okay.
And the only thing that was done down there that I saw was the footings, and those were put in somewhere in 2020, I believe. So here we are 3 years later, and there's still just the footings and that's it.
And so you're currently working on this project?
Correct. So I think what Kevin is saying, you sent the letter assuming that the work wasn't continuing for a 6-month period because you only saw the footings, but you had no knowledge of how the material is being delivered or
And
the
so,
conversation with the chief of police that we were working
and so Kevin,
on securing the site.
in your opinion, would a new building permit need to be requested and issued versus a renewal?
Yeah, the whole entire package would have to be resubmitted, just because of the code changes for number one. And then, like I said, I think we were nice enough during COVID to renew it a couple times because of one reason, COVID. Because usually, after a year, if nothing's done, it's like,
Yeah.
it's void. It's very clear in our zoning ordinance and in the ICC, IRC building code,
What was that?
International Residential Code.
No, I know that. I know that is what's clear.
What's what?
You said it's clear in the code. What's clear in the code?
Oh, where it's stated in both codes, it's stated in our zoning ordinance about it being void after a year.
Doesn't say that. It says after six.
Yeah.
Your
And
ordinance.
in the building
Okay.
code, it's 6 months, so, or I got that backwards.
Okay. So at this point, you do not have a valid building permit, is that correct?
According to the letter that I received, that's correct. Yeah, and again, it's erroneous because according to 1824, which is the town's code, unless it was abandoned or suspended for 6 months, which it wasn't, and you can confirm the work with the chief of police, and I can confirm
Well, I
with
wouldn't
you.
confirm with the chief of police probably. I would probably confirm with someone that was involved in the project, like a delivery of material
Yeah, we
or
can certainly
something.
do, yeah, we can certainly do that. If,
Kevin, is there anything that would satisfy this to make it,
Usually the building permit is the building permit for the actual construction of the building.
Versus
The
delivery of
The septic
material.
system, that's totally separate, and that expired last month too. That was good for 4 years and it expired August 7th of 2023. So right now you don't have a septic, you don't have approval for construction of a septic system too. And the site work, usually it's just pertaining to the house. I didn't see any extra dirt piles.
well, where do you see that in the ordinance? though?
excuse me,
Mr. Peggy.
Paul, could you address me, please?
Oh, sure,
yeah.
If you have questions.
What
Thank you.
ordinance? That's the septic ordinance?
No, you just made a statement. You said usually it's about building and not other work. Where do you see that in the ordinance 1824? Where does that state?
1824 is one part of the
Yeah,
ordinance.
there's nothing,
but-
you know, there's nothing to do with trespassing either, like keeping, that's like building a wall or something, and actually.
I'm just trying to get I'm just trying to understand where Kevin's coming from, that's all. So I
Yeah,
can speak to you.
basically, we're
Well-
yeah.
Is there a definition or something also that would say, authorized work is not commenced? The authorized work is the building. If it's suspended or abandoned for a period of 6 months, then that would be concerning the building permit, which would be the building of the
The structure?
structure.
Yeah, and usually the next step is to continue on the foundation or the slab work or whatever, and that's the next step, no matter what. There's no building materials on site like wood.
Okay,
If I
So-
may,
yes.
there's $80,000 worth of site work and fill that needs to be done first. So for Kevin to dictate the chronological order of my construction, it's just not a factual statement, nor is it true. It's just not true. The next step is to bring in fill material. I can't get a well driller in there. I can't get one of my foundation guys in there because of the site the way it is. So I need to bring in some fill material. So the next process, an intelligent build process, would be to bring fill in. So what he's saying is incorrect.
Okay, so Kevin, would it make sense if we had a timeline from this date and what happened if Mr. Pagliarulo would submit something like that to justify, and then we could make a
Oh,
decision?
yeah, have him,
Yeah,
yeah.
you could
And I have no
submit,
problem.
Yeah, with like receipts of like
Yeah.
fill being brought in and everything else.
and
yeah.
something like that, and then
Yeah.
we could review it at that point to determine whether or not the building permit should be renewed or should be, or a new building permit should be
Yeah.
submitted for.
And I'd just make a comment, in 2019, when you first submitted the building permit, usually you put down a cost of, you know,
Right.
how much the
The
building
project.
was. I sent it back because it was so, the cost was so low. You know, it turned out to be, I think it was like $46 per square foot, which was a joke. So I had to use legally, you go to the ICC, they have a whole entire page on what the construction, how it's gonna be built, either wood frame, steel frame,
Mhm.
and then, you know, if it's commercial, residential, or whatever. So they come up with $120 a square foot, which is super low still too, because as you know, building in this town right now is at $250 a square foot, no matter what, for any residential home. So I just sent that back to him to basically pay a higher permit fee.
Okay. So if you would get us a timeline from the last time you had a building permit renewed, so your expiration date basically moving forward, so we can decide on whether or not you need to file for a new building permit or if we should be renewing this current building permit. That would be
Okay, I guess
great.
I'm still confused. Where in the code does it say I need to do that?
In order for us to make a decision, to rescind our decision to not give you a new build, or a renewed building permit, we don't have documentation or anything that says that you have done anything, and have made progress on your building.
Okay, the law is clear, your regulations are clear. If it was suspended or abandoned for 6 months.
Right,
So the onus isn't on me, the onus is on the town to prove that I suspended that. And I'm giving you factual information, you can speak with the chief. I'll give you my delivery driver, I'm giving you factual information that disproves that I abandoned it.
okay.
So,
I'll discuss with
I
legal
don't-
counsel what factual information
I'll be happy
would
to
be.
speak with him. I'm a pro se attorney, so I'll be happy to speak with him. If you want to give me your legal counsel,
I'll talk to them first and see
who is
what,
the town council?
talk to them first and decide what the next steps would be. And it is,
Okay, I won't call them, I'm just simply asking for
I know,
current
it's-
information.
if you will wait for me to answer your question in full, please.
Go ahead.
Our attorney's name is Jason Dennis, and I forget the name of the firm because they've changed partners. It's Hastings and Malia,
Hastings.
but I don't know if it's still Hastings and Malia. I will discuss with him what our obligations are and what your obligations are, and we'll discuss this further.
And all I'm saying to you, Barbara, is I'll be happy to speak with him as well.
I
if
thank
want
you
me
for
to
that.
Speak to him directly. Since I retain my own counsel, I can speak with him.
Number 3 asks how we notify taxpayers. I don't know that we have anything that is per se in writing, but normally we make phone calls to people. If we can't reach them, we write them a letter. If we can't reach them, or if we haven't gotten a response, we send a certified letter. I don't think there's anything that is in writing that says we wait 5 days or 10 days or anything like that.
Which is fine, and you're correct, it's not. However, it has to be an equal protection, it has to be the same for every taxpayer. So that's why the question, and I want to get it on the record, how do you do that? What happens when there's an infraction or a code from a code enforcement officer? He is the chief enforcement officer of the town. What is the process? And of course, he only works through the board of selectmen, you guys. What is the process for notification? And again, you do have the authority to do it however you want. What is that process? It has to be equal for every person. And my point is because I received a certified letter, yet when my neighbor Tom has many infractions, and I have pictures, and the building inspector knows, he gets maybe a phone call, not equal protection. It violates civil rights law, it violates 14th Amendment, it violates a lot of stuff. So I'm trying to get it on record. I'm not going to file a federal lawsuit as of yet. I'm getting the background information. What is the town's process for notification when there's an infraction?
I don't believe we have a written process, but I will check on that.
Okay, you don't have it, that's called a policy. You don't have written policy.
Did
But
I
what
just
do
answer
you-
your question?
No,
I
you
don't
didn't.
know.
So Kevin's allowed to do call, email,
No,
whatever.
I don't think I said Kevin is allowed to do anything. I said, I don't know. I will find out and get back to you.
I'm not asking what the policy is, and I don't mean to be rude. I'm not asking what have you done in the past? How do you notify
Don't
people?
know. Anyone?
I would,
Okay, that's fine. You don't know how you notify?
I mean, letters are typically protocol and part of the process, and I think at this point, we should shut down this conversation and move on to the
That's
next
a great
agenda
idea.
item.
I'm just trying to understand the process, that's all. And that's fine if you don't know it, or if there's
I believe
no
I said
protocol.
that several times. All right, we will talk to our attorney and we will put this on the agenda as a pending item for the next meeting.
And just
Excuse me?
one last statement on that before we go to the next one, is Kevin did just hand me a letter that he sent an email to Tom about his infractions, and I was just concerned, how come I received a certified letter, and how come Tom got an email, essentially?
Well, I can answer that, because I tried to email you and you never responded, so we decided to send a certified letter, because we weren't sure if we had the correct address for you. So, and I noticed now we've got a different email address, so that's why that certified letter was sent.
Okay, and then on that vein, Tom's stairs are still within 2 feet, actually, it's within 5 feet. It's 5 feet onto the town's right of way, within that 15-foot right of way. He still has his stairs just lying there on the town right of way. So if you could bring that up with the building inspector, to see if maybe he can send some sort of communication to have him remove it,
Thank you.
that'd be great.
All right, next item is fire station updates.
Well, and we didn't get to 4 on my agenda.
I think we're gonna move on because I think we have enough on our plate to answer before we move to number 4.
So you're not gonna answer number 4? Or discuss it? About the state saying it's not in compliance, and they requested that the building inspector issue a notice of non-compliance and cease and desist construction. And there's a current building permit posted on his door that should be rescinded, because in the state's determination, as we met with Kevin in the state of New Hampshire, Subsurface Bureau, he is in violation of not having the proper permits.
Any comments on that?
Yeah, I'd like to answer that, because he has a permit out just for a simple deck and a stairway and a roof over the stairway. And I'm not gonna deny him to get from his driveway into his own house safely. Because right now, there's a 3 or 4 foot drop from the one door going in. The other, I don't know what the deal with the other doorway is, but it was just a simple building permit on that part, and I'm not pulling that part of the, I'm not gonna do a stop work order or take back the building permit for that. On the other thing, I think he's talking about are you talking about the no septic on file? Well,
Is that correct,
No,
Paul?
I'm talking about he has no construction approval or operational approval for the septic system that he has there.
yeah, so that's very, very common for many, many houses in Jackson. And it's not until there's
Building
the
permit.
system doesn't work anymore that we step in and say, hey, you have to do something on the state. Because, like I said, there's so many houses built in the 70s and even going into the 80s that there's nothing on file for their septic systems. And we've run into this with the short-term rentals,
Mhm.
where we just, reference to the tax card was on file at that point.
So is there something from the state of New Hampshire that's on file that has a problem with the septic system at this time then?
There's just nothing on file at all, so, yep, and I asked Paul, I'm asking him for, because he's putting a well in, I'm asking him for a plot plan, just to show where his septic system is, because, hopefully he, pumped his tank out at some point, somewhere there's a leach field. So I think that's the least that I'm asking him for. And I'm not making him get a new system or anything on file, or a new design.
Can I make a comment, Barbara?
Sure.
Kevin is correct, there are a lot of existing grandfathered nonconformity in the town, in many towns. The law is clear, before issuing a new permit is when the nonconformity has to be corrected. It can stay in nonconformity, but the minute you try to alter or ask for a building permit, as Tom did, that's the time in which, and this is the reason I was here for the first meeting, that's the time in which the town has the right and obligation, and I'll quote, 18.1, administrative enforcement, and this is for Tom and the selectmen. The building inspector shall administer the zoning ordinance literally, and shall not have the power, as Kevin just said he does. He made a statement of opinion saying, I don't want to. Well, he doesn't have that right to. It's not our system of government. Shall administer the zoning ordinance literally, and shall not have the power to permit any use that are not in conformance with the town ordinance. So Kevin's statement that I'm not going to, it's not a valid statement, it's against the law. He doesn't have that right to make a determination.
Are you
No, it
talking
doesn't-
about the building permit
No,
for
it
the
doesn't
stairs on the
select-
deck?
I heard a lot of things today about stuff that just, it's nonsensical, it's not valid, it's not lawful. The select board and the chief enforcement officer has to literally administer the law. There's plenty of mechanisms to, as with this other guy driver, you can get a zoning board of appeals, you can get a variance, all those things can be done. But there's a lot of discussion about people's opinions and what's allowed and just back of the envelope type of dealings in this, what I'm seeing in the last few meetings, it's unbelievable to me. The law is clear. Kevin can't have that kind of opinion. He can't say, well, I'm not going to prevent a guy from covering himself in the rain because he's not in compliance. He can't say that. It's not part of our system. He doesn't have the authority to make that ruling, and he just made it right in front of you guys. He just stated, in his opinion, he's not going to do it. He's not going to enforce that, or maybe I do, or maybe I don't. He doesn't have that authority.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make a suggestion
Yeah.
to the chair? I suggest that at this point, we move on to the next agenda item and we seek town council's
I'm
opinion
just-
on some of this.
In full agreement with you because I think that's a great idea for number 4 as well. All right, we will be in touch.
Thank you very much. I didn't mean to put you on the defensive. I'm just trying to
Thank
assert
you.
my constitutional rights.
Fire station updates, anything?
We have finished, we brought in Tim Scott and we brought in Lisa McAllister to look at our PowerPoint that's going to be converted into a short form video, and we've got our narrative background language all finalized on what we want to put out there. It is about 7 or 8 minutes long, and so we're ready to move forward with it. It's pretty much what I shared earlier. It's been boiled down, and it's had Tim's magic editor's touch to it, and it's got all the facts and figures that we worked on with the new construction off-site and renovation on-site, and it also shares some of the discussion that we've already had as a board about the pluses and minuses of tear down and new construction on-site, and the added costs that would be connected with that, with site work, with demolition. And so the cost compares, and we decided if we were going to support a new construction project, that our preference was that it to be south of the library, rather than tearing down and moving the access road and moving the septic system. So that's what gets compared. It's the same PowerPoint I showed earlier with the cost of $2.2 million on the renovation project that includes a 500 square foot addition out the back, and a $4 million cost, $4,094,000 cost to a new construction project. So I think we're ready to really get that. And we talked about who would be the narrative on the video, and both Lisa McAllister and Tim are more than willing to. I think they're going to tag team
I was going to say, it sounds like it
different
would be good for
portions. It's only 7-8 minutes long to begin with, but between the two of them, they'll be fine. So we'll finalize that and get that ready to distribute.
What is the distribution gonna be?
I think we're going to put a link out. We'd like to put a link out on e-news. We'd
Right.
like to have a link on the town website. We'd like to also present to the other boards and committees and groups around town that are going to be impacted by it. I think Emily Benson is scheduled, I think, with Tim or Lisa to meet with the library October 3rd.
Cool.
And so that's where we're at with it.
Great.
That's our update. Jay, did I forget anything there? Is there anything I missed? We've been meeting about every other week.
Over the scheduled meeting, we got a meeting, you guys got a meeting scheduled to meet with the library people.
Yeah, I think that's the one,
Is
that's
that
the
October
October 3rd meeting. And then, of course, we've got a joint meeting that we're looking to finalize with the,
The planning
Planning
board.
board.
That's on October 26th, right?
yeah.
Open houses have gone pretty well, better than I expected, so that's good.
I was over there on a Tuesday, right after you had an open house, and there was about 12 names on the list of people that showed up
Yeah,
at the tour.
We got 8 or 10 every day. Today was a slow day, but they've gone really well.
Right?
Yeah, no, the only thing I've been wondering about is if whatever we do, whatever bond we put out there,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a ballot vote and not on the floor.
It has to be.
It has to be a
That just wanna make
ballot
sure,
vote
because I had a few
with
guys said I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure so, because some folks have. Now, the other question I have is some folks have asked me, they might not be in town, can you vote for something like that ballot vote without being here? Can you vote in
If it's a
abstention?
ballot
Well,
vote, you
it's
can do
ballot
an
vote.
absent.
You can vote in abstention. So if you're gone in
Town
March,
meeting, I think you have to be
I-
registered.
Yeah, no, I was told, maybe I'm wrong, but I was told the warrant articles, you had to be present.
Yeah.
I didn't think you
That's
could.
my understanding.
and that was mine too, but again, there's still some
Yeah.
people want
Because it's
to
not,
make sure.
it's a ballot vote because it's a bond vote
On
Yes.
Thursday, is it?
on town meeting night.
Okay,
It's not a
okay.
ballot vote.
It's not
that-
Tuesday voting,
Correct.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it will come out as a
So it will be on the
warrant,
floor.
a warrant article on the floor.
It'll be on the floor,
Yeah.
not in a ballot.
Well, it's a ballot vote, but it's done that night. It's not a ballot vote the day of voting.
You know how.
The voters
You know what,
Right.
can we definitely just make sure we're confirming that?
Yeah,
Because
I wanna make
I
sure.
want to make sure exactly how we word it, Also, that it's, if it's going to be a ballot vote on the floor, whatever it is, the terminology, so that it's in the minutes and
Right.
people understand that
I-
that's valid.
I'd like to see it as a ballot vote that is voted on by the whole town during the day, night, whatever, and then when the close is
You
done,
mean
not
at-
just on the
I
floor.
don't think you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I just.
Yeah.
That's why I
more
want to know what
opportunity.
the,
I would much rather see that too.
I
Sure.
would too, but we have to know
But I
what
don't think you
the,
can.
yeah.
It has to be done that night, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like you're right.
I agree with you, the more we can get
Right,
to be
so
present
wait, sure.
would be better. So everybody keep March, what is it, 12th?
Any,
12th on your calendars.
I don't know if we should discuss this now, but we should, at least in the back of our heads, think about how many people we think are gonna come, because it's a hot topic.
Well-
And the fact of not, you only allow so many people in that building. So I know
Yeah.
that's a tough
That
tough
is a
discussion
tough one.
point, but it is, you're only, I can't remember, is it 250? I'd have to look. It's like 250 people is max
Mhm.
occupancy for that building, so I would find it hard to believe we'd get more than that, but
It would be nice.
just something to think about, because
Yeah.
that could throw a wrench into some stuff.
Okay. Maybe with our new audio visual equipment, we'll be able to have it outside too. A tent. That's something to consider though, seriously, not to laugh it off. That is something to consider what the occupancy max is for the Whitney Center. And we're gonna be doing probably 3 budget meetings versus 2, where we're gonna have the first one a little earlier and have it strictly for big ticket items, because based on what we discover with the planning board, there may be some other things that are not as regular as the whole budget. So, as we start talking about that, we'll figure out the logistics.
The other question I
I
got,
have a
or
question.
point, I don't know, is when we start talking about wording, if something's going on the warrant,
Mhm.
because there's a time frame there, and
Right,
we are almost into October, so time is flying.
yep.
Are you gonna have any public hearings, like at the Whitney Center?
For the fire station or
Yeah.
for other, that would be,
Yes.
yeah,
We'd
Okay.
like to.
yeah.
Okay, because those should
Yeah.
probably start happening soon.
Right. Yeah.
I can't remember what the last discussion was on that.
Frank?
I think,
I'd like you to make sure to find out, because I'd rather see people in the privacy of a booth voting on this thing during the whole day. And then when we stop the voting at 7 o'clock or whatever it is, we have a whole day, not just what happens on the floor. I want to make, can we just make sure
Yeah, we'll
to
confirm.
find out, just to
with her.
confirm that?
Yeah, with
Okay,
people.
and then is a potential, if it has to be on the floor, that it'll be a secret ballot. Now, I think you can ask, you gotta have 10, I'm not sure what the numbers are anymore, but to have a secret ballot so that people just have to
Yes.
vote
And I
without,
think you have,
without saying
you
aye
have
or
to do a
nay,
secret.
that kind of thing.
We'll figure it out and find
Yeah.
out what the rules
Yeah.
are, because I thought if you wanted to do a secret ballot, you had to be brought up at the beginning of the meeting or
It
something,
does.
so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, well, let's
And
find out
someone
all the
took pieces of
logistics and make sure.
I know, we've done it.
We've done that, the yellow slip.
is this something we should try to get Jerry here for one of the meetings to go over all the details? He's out, he's
Yeah, I don't
running the
know,
show.
maybe a little premature to go over the details we need to find out what the process is first,
Mhm.
and then, once we just decide what the process is, involving him obviously
Well,
is key.
because he'll be the one running it, he's running the
Right,
show, so.
right.
Yeah.
Alright. Sounds good. Nothing for the facilities committee unless anybody else has any comments there. And moving on to number 5, short-term rentals. The first is for a new application for Monty at 146 North Hampshire Ridge, map B07, lot 106. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
There are no problems or questions on this, so it is okay to approve. I will make a motion to approve 146 North Hampshire Ridge.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the second was a pending approval and it was being pended based on their advertisement, and they have remedied that, so. So, this is for the Glorio property on 146 Tin Mine Road, map V08, lot 26-2. Motion?
So moved.
And she said
I'll
motion.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Mason?
Going back to these covenants, and I think Julie in her notes of last meeting said she spoke with the town council. He's a busy man here. I would like to get his thoughts on the wording, because I've read, I don't know whether you guys have taken the time to read the covenants that were on those 3 lots up there. And to me, it's as clear as day. This is a no-go. And if you want, I can read you the 2 covenants that I think are governing this thing, at least in my mind. Because when John Doty subdivided this land back in 88 or 89, he put on about 10 covenants. And all 3 deeds for those properties are identical in every way, shape, and form, other than the description of the property lines, obviously.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking through the notes here for a second.
And if I may, we'll read number 8. Out of 10 covenants on the list. No business activity or pursuit of whatever kind or nature shall be conducted from any designated lot, whether or not allowed by the zoning bylaw, nor shall any business sign be displayed upon the lot, or any dwelling or structure therein. So, to me, it sounds like he has trumped any zoning bylaws that then existed or shall exist now.
And we heard back from the attorney that said it is not a business.
Yeah, I have the email here, do you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Covenant 8 arguably was intended to mean or should mean no STRs. However, courts, including New Hampshire courts, have relatively consistently ruled that STR use is a residential use, not a commercial use. As such, my best answer is I could very easily argue either way. So I think because the courts are siding with STRs as not being commercial use, he's kind of agreeing.
Isn't this a conversation we had at the last
It
meeting
is.
as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think now that we've, heard it again and heard from the attorney, I think asked and answered, I will tell you that you probably haven't heard the last of it from the courts, because every town has their struggles and their conversations, but at this point, we are approving it.
Can I appeal that?
No, not on our terms, but if you want to take it to a higher court, I'm sure you could.
I'm not looking to be difficult, but
I hear you.
I'm reading something and I don't understand. I just don't understand it. Plain and simple.
I'd just like to say though, that the last thing she said, our attorney said, was that it could go either way.
You could argue it either way.
Well, that opens up the door again. Because as I said, I think this guy, STRs weren't even thought of way back then, but his forward thinking on businesses or anything non-residential up here was
He's pretty cool too. So,
So it is approved. If you want to appeal it, I would say it would have to go above us because we did vote to approve it.
Can you print that email out for Mr. Mason when you get a chance?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, the next is building and driveway permits, 3 new permits. Kevin, any comments?
No, they're all good. All straightforward.
All right. Any other public comments? All right, our upcoming meetings are Tuesday, October 10th at 3:30, Tuesday, October 24th at 3:30, and then, as mentioned before, we have our working session with the planning board on October 26th at 5 o'clock.
Which is a Thursday, not a Tuesday.
That's
That's
correct,
right.
that's a Thursday, it says
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Oh, it
yeah.
is,
No,
sorry.
there it is, the Easter egg.
That's okay.
Okay. I will make a motion to adjourn, 4:41.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.